Welcome to your first Project Breakfast School Breakfast Expansion Team meeting and the first step in your training and development for your new grab-and-go breakfast programs. Project Breakfast is funded by the National Institutes of Health and is run through the University of Minnesota Department of Family Medicine and Community Health. Other partners include University of Minnesota Extension, the Minnesota Department of Education, St. Catherine's University, the Midwest Dairy Association, marketing agency Community Blueprint, and school meals specialist Kathleen Milbrath. As many of you know, this is a statewide project. As you can see here, the schools we work with span across the state from the north all the way down to the south. You are the part of a group of 4 schools considered the Wave 2 late start or control schools. You've been the most patient, and we appreciate your patience in waiting to be able to implement your new school breakfast programs, and we're excited to get started with you. A quick reminder about the study design of this project. There are 16 schools involved in the study. 8 of the schools started in Wave 1, school year 2013-14, and 8 of the schools, including you, started in school year 2014-15 in Wave 2. 4 of the schools of Wave 1 were considered early start or intervention schools, and 4 of the schools in Wave 1 were considered control schools or late start schools. The 4 schools that are intervention schools in each wave start their grab-and-go programs first, while the 4 schools considered late start or control schools wait patiently for 1 year while the intervention schools implement their new grab-and-go breakfast programs. After 1 year, the control schools or late start schools then get to implement their breakfast programs. That is why at this point you are getting ready to implement your new grab-and-go breakfast program in school year 2015-16. The larger study purpose of Project Breakfast is to increase participation in the reimbursable school breakfast program. We do this through a best practices approach of expanding the serving and eating locations of school breakfast to a grab-and-go cart served in a main building entry or commons area or a busy hallway, and changing school policies to allow eating in the hallway so students don't have to choose between eating breakfast in the cafeteria or socializing by their locker. A strategy we have found to be wildly successful at our study schools is offering a second chance breakfast option between first and second period. This strategy seems to be particularly successful with high school students, and you will hear more about that later in the presentation. Finally, schools implement a strong marketing and promotion campaign to increase visibility and popularity of the new school breakfast program. You will have the opportunity to hear about all the successful strategies schools have used to market their new programs in a future training. Toward the end of the year, we will be sharing with you the data collected from students at your school who are enrolled in Project Breakfast. This data will provide valuable insight into what your students might want from your new breakfast program. We wanted to give you a brief preview of the data we collect and how much room for improvement exists in getting high school students to eat the school breakfast. As you can see here, a classroom screener of nearly 6,000 students across all 16 schools in our study revealed that 34% of students eat breakfast 3 or fewer days in a school week from any source, home, school, or on the way to school, with nearly 17% never eating breakfast. You have so much to look forward to, and your hard work will pay off. At our study schools so far, we have seen creative strategies and hard work come to life with doubling and tripling of breakfast sales from previous years. Here you can see Wilmer Senior High School Commons area before Second Chance Breakfast, and now with students lining up to take advantage of the new breakfast program. At New London Spicer High School, the principal was fully engaged and even participated in the marketing campaign video and posters. They have seen huge improvements in breakfast sales and have had a ton of fun along the way. Coming up next, Mary Schrader from Extension will talk about how to use your school breakfast expansion team. Then you'll hear an interview with Marlene Webb, Food Service Director at Bemidji High School, one of our current study schools. Then Kate Young, our Intervention Coordinator, will go through some breakfast service models to think about and why Second Chance Breakfast has been so successful with our schools. Finally, you will receive some information about how to develop a budget for the grant dollars you will receive through Project Breakfast.
Hello, my name is Mary Schrader, and I will be presenting information on the School Breakfast Expansion Team. The School Breakfast Expansion Team is key to the success of implementing a new breakfast program. As you can see in this graphic, a team is a group of people working together towards a common goal. The purpose of the School Breakfast Expansion Team, called SBET for short, is to ensure all students have access to healthy breakfast to jumpstart their day, to increase student participation in the school breakfast program, and to share the work of implementing a new and exciting breakfast program. If you are watching this video, you are probably already part of an SBET team. Since you are just getting started, it is good to think strategically about who should be on your team and if anyone is missing. Aim to have 6 to 8 members on your team. There are a few key people you should have on your team. Food service staff. The director should be part of the team, but also considering having a lead cook or food service staff on the team as they will bring in a different perspective. School administration. It is important to have the input and support of an administrator such as a principal or vice principal, as they are key in connecting the dots and promoting the program. Other key members to include may be the school nurse, custodian, students, and members of the Student Wellness Committee or teachers. As the SBET team is getting started, it is helpful to know there are a lot of resources available to help your team be successful. Each school is receiving 2 project breakfast manuals, which will contain resources to get your breakfast program started. There is one section just on the SBET. The SBET team was designed to meet 5 times, 3 times before the program is implemented and 2 times after the breakfast program is up and running. The number of meetings you have may depend upon who is involved and time availability. In the manual, you will find goals and sample agendas for each of the meetings. Here are the themes for the 5 meetings. Meeting 1, Assessment and Goal Setting. Meeting 2, Action Plan. Meeting 3, Communication. Meeting 4, Monitoring. And Meeting 5, Evaluation. Let's look at these each more closely. The focus of Meeting 1 is Assessment and Goal Setting. You will begin by looking at the current breakfast program and why it should be expanded. This will help you determine what breakfast delivery model works best for your school. For example, your assessment may be that the majority of students drive to school and arrive just before school starts. Therefore, they do not have time for a traditional breakfast in the cafeteria. At the same time, you identify a need for students to eat breakfast, as the school nurse has noticed a trend in the number of students getting headaches or not feeling well at the end of the morning. Your SBET team decides to try a second chance breakfast. The manual contains all the forms you need to go through this process. Meeting 2 is when things really get started as the team develops their action plan. As part of the action plan, you identify the tasks to be completed, who is responsible for completing the tasks, and by what date. You also list things that need to be considered in order for the task to be completed. It will become apparent in this step why having a variety of people on your SBET team is helpful. For example, the custodian can take on the responsibility to determine where the waste cans are needed. At the same time, the teacher can be sharing information about the new breakfast program with other staff. The focus of the 3rd meeting is communication. In order to get buy-in on the new breakfast program from students, staff, parents, and others, good communication is vital. An elevator speech is a 30-second or so statement as to why the new breakfast program is needed. A communication plan can provide the framework to keep key school individuals informed of the SBET and its next steps. Be sure to include the following groups in your communication plan: administration, custodial staff, teachers, paraprofessionals, other staff, parents, students, and finally the school food service staff. Finally, if there are any policies the SBET team needs to develop or revise, consider doing it at this time. For example, if your school currently has a policy about no eating in the hallways, you will need to revise this policy as you want to allow students to eat breakfast in the hallway. The manual contains helpful information and a communication form. You will also find sample letters to send home to students and parents, as well as information to give to school staff. The 4th meeting takes place after the breakfast program has been implemented. This is the monitoring meeting. You will want to schedule this meeting the first few weeks after implementing your program. In addition, consider having a monitoring meeting on a regular basis, such as at the end of each quarter. At this time, the team will want to look at reports, production records, and talk to students and staff about how the breakfast is going. Monitoring allows the SBET an opportunity to make recommendations for changes, if needed, to improve the success of the breakfast expansion. It is good to share successes of the school breakfast expansion throughout the year to increase visibility. Don't wait until the end of the year to share your successes. As you near the end of the first school year with the expanded breakfast program, the SBET will want to come together one final time to evaluate the school breakfast expansion as well as share successes. The team will want to evaluate whether or not the school breakfast expansion goals were met by reviewing reports and the available data, as well as talking to students and staff. Be sure to highlight the school breakfast expansion with the school board, administration, food service staff, PTAs, PTOs, staff, parents, and students. Note any changes that will be implemented the following school year related to continuous quality improvement. I hope you found the introduction to the SBET team helpful. Please take time to review the manual as it contains a variety of helpful resources. Good luck on your new breakfast program.
In the next few slides, you will hear from Marlene Webb, Food Service Director at Bemidji High School, One Project Breakfast Study School, about critical keys to the success of their new grab-and-go and second chance breakfast program.
Our success is really due to the school breakfast expansion team and the students that were part of that. I think they were chosen with a lot of insight as far as the principal was concerned, and he certainly went across all student population and really tried to grasp some individuals that he knew could connect with a variety of our students and everything. And they were the ones that did the majority of the communication with our teachers and our staff. They were the ones that presented the changes that we would be experiencing in the breakfast program to the teachers and the staff. A slide presentation that they put together that had information regarding our current free and reduced and our participation rates for our breakfast program, I think gave an overall view of where we were and the direction we were hoping to go to. They knew that teachers would be concerned regarding their classroom environment and whether it would get messy and have garbage thing. And I think that their communication with the staff at that initial all-staff meeting was huge and very positive. They told the theme that, "Are you ready for this?" and explained that it was not only going to be a key aspect of promoting the breakfast program, but also was going to be the theme for the entire school, including classes and teams. And they wanted everyone involved, and that included the staff and as many students as possible, with everything being promoted within the school itself. And the emphasis definitely was put on everyone being involved. So I really need to give it to the students because they were the key, I think, in the success of this entire program. The school food service staff that became members of the school breakfast expansion team were they're always enthusiastic. They have a very go-to attitude in everything, and they feel that they can basically do anything, and they totally understand that they're there for the students. If it wasn't for the students' participation in any aspect of the program, they would not be needed. And maintenance staff were initially a little bit leery of the concerns that they had regarding garbage, et cetera, et cetera. It wasn't an issue. Classes weren't an issue. Garbage in the hallways weren't an issue. Garbage in the classrooms weren't an issue. Bags were used to put their garbage in if there was anything left over. And that basically made up our active school breakfast expansion team. It was the administration, the students, the maintenance people, and the food service staff. We would meet periodically and brainstorm various ideas of how we could best do this with our existing equipment as well as our existing staff. And existing equipment, they were just really nixing any idea of purchasing additional carts, etc. The kitchen is such a busy area, and storage lacks in all areas of food service. And so they decided to utilize the 5-foot tables that were on wheels, and everything are stainless steel tables, and just cover those with tablecloths, etc. And we did purchase some small pieces of just baskets and containers that would be more acceptable or more presentable and everything to the students. The entire staff, when they come in the morning, are beginning to package. They'll start something as far as the packaging or getting everything out, and it's an assembly line. And whoever comes in, somebody might need to leave to go work on the salad bar preparation, but then somebody else has a few minutes, and then they take hold and start packaging. and we always are a day ahead. Just roll the carts back into the cooler so we're ready for the next day. Well, basically, I'll give it to the high school principal, was the person that had the engagement with the students. With our promotion the second week of September, we provided a free breakfast to all students after we had the assembly and showed the video, and the students, again, the students as part of the school breakfast expansion team, they were the ones that did that presentation at the assembly. Our food service staff was on the stage as well as, and the administration. And that day when we gave them their breakfast, leaving the auditorium, we exposed all of the students to the possibilities of what are in these grab-and-go bags. And from that day forward, we saw at least doubling of our participation, and we're well past the tripling of our participation of where we were last school year.
My name is Kate Young, Project Breakfast Intervention Coordinator. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about breakfast service options. One of the first things to consider once you have your SBET up and running is what new type or types of breakfast service are you going to provide for your students. High school students tend to have the lowest participation in the school breakfast program. Best practice and our experience suggests that to increase participation, it's best to take breakfast outside of the cafeteria to an area that is easier for students to access. High school students also seem to respond best to second chance breakfast options, which is after first hour. Marketing and promotion are also a key component and will be covered in a later training. For quick, easy, accessible breakfast, a grab-and-go cart is optimal. This cart should be outside the cafeteria in a high student traffic area like a hallway, school entrance, or a commons where students congregate. This saves time, may decrease stigma, and may be self-promoting purely because it's in an area that students and staff can see. Adding a second chance breakfast option is a great way to meet the needs of high school students, and I'll touch on that a little bit more in the next slide. This is a breakfast service after first period and can either be in a cafeteria or grab and go. Other Project Breakfast schools have found this option to be very successful. Within these service options, there's a lot of flexibility to mix and match. For example, if you offer a second chance breakfast on a grab and go cart, you can still provide a hot breakfast before school in the cafeteria. Or you might decide to shut down the cafeteria breakfast and only provide a grab-and-go breakfast before school and after first period for second chance. Keep in mind that just because you start the year off with one service model does not mean that you have to stick with that same model all year long. However, while trying different options, it's best you try one service model for 2 to 3 weeks to give it a chance to catch on. Discuss with your SBET team to find out what works best for you at your school and for your students.
Why have we found second chance breakfast to be so successful? As most of you may know, as part of participating in Project Breakfast, all schools have a subset of students that take a survey for us. One of the questions asked students, what are the barriers to eating a school breakfast? As you can see here, some of these barriers include too busy, takes too much time, and not easy. Many of these can be addressed by having a grab-and-go cart that is easier for students to access. However, the number one barrier for students to eat a school breakfast is that they're just not hungry in the morning. We got this survey data halfway through our Wave 1 schools intervention. When we came across a possible solution, second chance breakfast, we immediately began discussing this with our Wave 1 schools as an option. Here is a case study of one of our Wave 1 schools that implemented second chance breakfast after we shared their students' data with them. As a part of the study, we collected meal counts in October and November, and this was before they started their second chance breakfast. We also collected meal counts in February and April. By this time, they had their second chance breakfast up and running. As you can see, with the initiation of second chance breakfast, the number of complete breakfasts sold more than doubled, going from 121 to 273 meals. Although this is just a case study of one of the schools, we have seen the same and even more dramatic increases in breakfast sales in all of the Project Breakfast schools that have added a second chance breakfast option for their students.
Once you've decided on the type of service model you're going to have, the next step is to think about where is the best location for your new breakfast.
Before school, a good location for carts are entrances where a majority of the students enter the schools. This makes it easier for students to grab their breakfast before they're going to their first class or wherever they're going to go. Another good location is where students congregate before school, such as a commons area or a locker bank. If you are offering second chance breakfast, the best location for a cart may be in a busy passing hallway where most of the students walk through when going from their first class to their second. Again, this makes sure that's in a place where many students see it and they don't have to go out of their way to get it. If it works best at your school, it's worth considering having multiple cart locations. One Project Breakfast school, Bemidji High School, has 5 second chance carts, and Wilmer, another Project Breakfast school, has 2. Both schools added carts as the year progressed, and they saw the need and popularity of the second chance breakfast option. As with service model options, just because you start with one location does not mean the cart has to stay there all year. As Mary said, it's important to practice continuous quality improvement, revisit, revise, and be flexible. Remember, while trying new locations, it's best to keep your cart in one location for 2 to 3 weeks to give it a chance to catch on.
Another critical job for your SBET will be to think through purchasing decisions in order to develop a budget for the $5,000 grant funds you receive to start up your new program. Study personnel will send the food service director at your school materials to help walk you through developing this budget. You will receive a budget guide with things to think about, such as, do you want to purchase a cart? What equipment do you need for food storage on the cart? Will you need a wireless point of sale system? Once you have thought through and documented your purchasing decisions, you will submit a formal budget sheet to me, Project Manager Amy Shanafelt, through email. As a reminder, the grant funds you receive must only be used for the high school breakfast program, not for any other schools in the district or any other programs within the school. You can use the grant funds for additional staff time needed for starting up and running your new breakfast carts, and the budgets are flexible. As a requirement of our federal funding, we will reach out and ask for receipts for all purchases made with grant dollars and a detailed expense sheet documenting the amount of grant funds spent on staff time. Any questions about this can be sent to Amy at the email address listed here. Now it's time to get started with your first school breakfast expansion team meeting. As a reminder, the goal of this meeting is assessment and goal setting. You'll want to assess your current breakfast program, create a school breakfast expansion statement of needs and goals, and determine a grab-and-go breakfast delivery model. You can find the materials to help guide you through this in the manual provided by Extension. Thank you so much for your time today. We hope you've learned a lot from this webinar, and we are always available for questions. Good luck with your planning and development of your new school breakfast programs.